I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? Manchester United are back in action. We've had a little break, a little winter reprieve, and United are back in action this weekend against big, bad Newport County in the FA Cup, fourth round proper, on the road. That'll be a fun match against the Minnow that we should beat. But either way, there's a lot going on at Manchester United at the moment, a lot going on outside the pitch, and I think these are the changes, the movements that at least I think you and I have been most keen to see. Forget the transfers, forget the manager. It's about the heavies up top, and we got a heavy. Manchester United have a new CEO in Omar Barada, poached out of Man City, former COO of Man City Football Club, and then he was promoted to the head chief football operations, CFO in the football game. You know, it's a different type of CFO that I'm used to, of the entire city org. It was revealed, lickety split. Never seen a move like that where there was no noise. Maybe that speaks to how Ratcliffe and his team of merry men like to do business. But either way, no fuss, no muss. We got our man, and he's qualified, and his name ain't Richard Arnold. Sir, how we doing?
Doing great. I mean, huge news. There's a lot of smoke around Jean-Claude Blanc. Essentially, he's going to stay, kind of in Ratcliffe's ear, going to be around as sort of like maybe a consultant. And then, obviously, Barada, as you say it, kind of like the dish, sir. The Catalan CEO, coming from Barcelona during all that success, went to Man City. We looked at Man City's front office. Hate the club. They're cheaters, 115 charges. Let's see how that goes. We're going to get you up to date about that a little later. He looks to be jumping ship. They basically, this is a really good sign. You talk about the tea leaves. You talk about Manchester United. You talk about the next 20 years. Looking back at this moment where Man City could be being dismantled right before our eyes. This is right before they're going to have this judgment on these charges that could blow that whole team up. And just like John Henry Davies with the match-fixing scandal around the turn of the century in the early 1900s, took Man City's best players from a scandal, and Manchester United went on to win their first title. This could be the turning of the tide in Manchester. And so really excited about Barada. He's too legit to quit with the right experience, and taking them from a rival just makes it better. Really respect Ratcliffe and co. for this decision.
No, 100%. Definitely, I'm sure the impending charges weighed in on him to a certain extent. But, and also, if it was just the same bunch of bums as before, right? If it was Glazers and like Ed Woodward and all those idiots, I don't know if he would take this job. But the opportunity to work under a serious operator in Ratcliffe, Jean-Claude Blanc apparently still has a role. I think he's on the board. He's going to be overseeing things, but Omar is going to be in the hot seat in terms of being the true CEO to oversee the operations, the football / commercial side of the business. And he seems almost better suited than Jean-Claude Blanc, given his experience at City. Removed of the cheating element. Cheating, all it did is really accelerate their timeline and make it so what they did in 10 years should have been done in 20. But in terms of his signings, the academy, the facilities, he's top-notch, and in many ways kind of replicates what City did in the first place. City looked at one of the best models around. They looked at Barca, and they poached their best and brightest. And I hate to say it, in many ways, outside the cheating, City are top-notch. They know how to run a football club. So following in the past steps of people around us, it's not that hard to find qualified people, offer them the opportunity to be CEO of the greatest football club in the world. And I'm glad Ratcliffe seems to be figuring that out.
No, absolutely. But when it comes to the 115 charges, those looming over the club, and looking at what those types of charges have meant to Everton, it's clear to anyone this is going to be a big fight. And like the Pep Guardiola, if they end up getting charged, is Pep Guardiola going to stay? What about Kevin De Bruyne? These are big questions for City. The players are thinking about it. The managers are thinking about it. The execs are thinking about it. You don't jump ship from like a treble winning side that's really successful if it's not under heat like this. And this is a great one for United. I think you're going to start seeing us doing what we should have been doing, which is taking the best talent from the league. By the way, you got to remind yourself we're Manchester United. Everyone wants to work here too, sir. So, I mean, if you think of that, if we can get Omar and Ashworth in, I mean, that's it. Case closed.
Yeah,
now we're just going to go buy all the best prospects in the league because Ashworth knows where they are, knows what to pay for them. And at the end of the day, like, this is good for United. It's a step in the new direction, and this is really the whole issue under the Glazers, right? The Glazers, they are absentee owners, sucking money out of the club in South Florida, and they let these numpties run it. And the problem with Ed Woodward is after that first transfer window where we got Fellaini at the death, and then Juan Mata and overpaid for Mata in January. By the way, love Mata. Fellaini, he actually earned his stripes from my perspective. After that, he should have been gone because he was clearly out of his depth. He did so well on the commercial side. They kept him despite the footballing side of the club just absolutely being horrible and in shambles over that period of time. And so this is a new era of accountability for management and hiring people who have done it before on their resume, which sounds insane, but I think you're going to see the difference here right away under Ratcliffe.
No, I agree 100%. This season has been such a frustrating one, such a challenging one, disappointment in so many regards that at this point, this is the stuff I care about. This is the stuff, we're not day trading Manchester United. I love this club. I'm going nowhere. As much as I'm frustrated by the coach getting things wrong, the players not putting in a shift, the reason we have underperformed and overspent and floundered is because of the people put in the most important decisions, people put in the position to make the most important decisions at the club. And this is, like you said, a first start, putting competency back into the front office, hiring the smartest people possible, putting them in a position to succeed in the first place, right? Not putting in a decently qualified person like fucking Rangnick and then putting your thumb on them. So excited to see. I want more of this, more of the team, and then it's time for a whole reshuffle, sir. This team has to be not swept under the rug, but just completely picked apart. The wage structure has to be redone, and the only way you do that is by getting rid of your top earners, and then go in the way of, picking up players on the come, pick players on the up instead of going like $85 million in for Anthony, picking up players who are cheaper. Could be a total coin flip in terms of how they're going to adapt to the league, but you got to go small ball, and instead of doing this big splashy Sancho signings and pianos and all that shit, back to basics, and that's what it's all about.
Let's go, sir. I'm glad football is back. The American Red Devils, we've been on a little bit of a break, been on a little bit of a break. It's kind of too long without United, and maybe that's because I've already forgotten about the shit football, so I'm ready to get disappointed again.
Clearly.
Jesus, it's I'm like, oh man, Manchester United's gonna play again, and then I'm like, oh, this Manchester United this season, look, sir, quick PSA for the podcast. You like the American Devils, you like the Muppet Take. We don't have any sponsors. We don't waste your time. We're 100% fan back, 100% fan supported, because that's what this game is all about. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/American Red Devils. We do a behind-the-scenes extra episode every single month if you sign up. Plus, there's tons of other great benefits. Join the best fans out there supporting the pod. Please do so. Also, check out our store, AmericanDevils.store. Great merch if you want Alex to pick, pack, and ship something to your house from his garage. Check out our store. We got great beanies, hoodies, scarves, pins, stickers, everything ARD. Order something, help out the podcast. Also, sir, tell them about iTunes reviews, the socials, etc.
Buy stuff, keep me busy in that warehouse. And if you don't want to pick something up from the store, another great way to support the pod is write 5-star reviews on iTunes or Spotify. And if you do, we're giving away free merch. All you have to do is write that 5-star review, like I said, and send a screenshot of it to americandevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I'll personally pick, pack, and ship free ARD gears and right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great one from Melanie Cock. Here we go. Great banner. You guys do a great job at point, counterpoint. Keep it up and do it even more. I like hearing both sides. Red Devil for life since 1990. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone writing those 5-star reviews, sir. What are we looking
Point,
at?
counterpoint. It's just like ramble, ramble, ramble. That's what, yeah.
That's it, bro. Ramble.
It's like Jersey.
Blueberry bramble.
Jersey arguments.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
go.
point counterpoint. Oh, hold on 1 second. Here we go, sir. What are we doing? We got a match?
That's right. Manchester United's back, baby. Let's go.
Best stadium name yet? I mean, this might be the best stadium name I've ever heard.
Look, it's Newport County versus Manchester United. Rodney Parade Stadium. It's the 4th round proper, Sunday, January 28th, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Love that kickoff time here on the West Coast. They're 17th place in League Two, so let's get fired up. Let's beat them, and let's celebrate like we won the league.
Yeah, keep calm, sir. We still got to beat them. It's about our level this year, given how shit we've been. But either way, these are the kind of fixtures that are fun. You know, it's like obviously we're playing a team that we should handle with no problem. But it's fun. This is what's the magic of the FA Cup. You know, is like going to a League Two side, going to their ground. We've been on a tear in terms of home games in cup competitions, at least over the last year and a half. So, you know, luckily we don't have to go to Anfield. Going to Rodney Parade is a little less intimidating, but it's a small ground. They're going to be up for it. It's a big deal for them. It's a big deal for us because, hey, this is the only competition we're still in, and we got to keep it going. So United coming out of the long break, like you said, players were all over the place. Players were in the Middle East. They were in Dubai. They were elsewhere. They're having a nice time, relaxing. So hopefully they come back fresh. Manager can pick an 11 that makes sense, and we can just get a win because at this point, a win's a win, and we need as many as we can get.
Little info on Newport County Professional Football Club in Newport, South Wales. We're going to Wales, sir. A little bit of a trip for the boys. They compete in League Two, 4th tier of English football. For those who are not familiar, it is the Premier League, Championship, League One, then League Two. So I think the lowest I've gone down the table to watch a game is League One. So League Two is going to be this is gonna be amazing. Like you're gonna it's like one of those games, Europa League games, where the lighting isn't quite right when you're watching the game.
The camera's all fucked up.
Yeah, but thank God it's during the day. The club were reformed, but were initially unable to play at their home ground, Somerton Park, and so they picked up the nickname the Exiles. That's a great nickname. County fans consider their main rivals to be Cardiff City, who did feature in the Premier League a few years back. The two sides have rarely met due to the gap between them. So, again, they don't play in the same league. So, the derby is kind of like, once in a generation. They're playing the 5-3-2. You wouldn't know anyone on their team other than the HWJ Charlesley out there on the left wing. Charlesley.
That's amazing.
HWJ Charlesley coming straight from 1875 to your TV. Check out the number 20. That's an amazing thing. I don't know how you have 4 initials. Big shout out to Adam, who ran the scouting report on Newport County, watching a lot of their League Two games here. He says they play with a back 5, relying mostly on long ball buildup. It's going to be hoofball at their house and crosses to create scoring chances. Who knows what the Welsh minnows will look like against Manchester United, but we can safely expect a low block and a hoofball counter. Players to watch, Will Evans. He is their big threat up front with 17 goals in all comps. He will likely be playing as the right-sided striker in the 2-striker set. Also, Adam Lewis at fullback, who is a Scouse bastard, and he's on loan from Liverpool, so you got to make sure to boo him. He's going to be on fire, ready to play Manchester United, and obviously Shane McLaughlin, the Bronx-born McLaughlin.
Bronx, let's go.
USA, baby. Solid attacking fullback, who's Newport County's assist leader. He's played on both sides of the formation for the Exiles. Like we said, they're not in great form. They're in 14th out of 24 teams. They are unbeaten in their last 7 matches, so they do have sort of quite the backbone. Adam's take, he says, every pundit will say Newport County will have no pressure and Manchester United will have nothing but pressure. That can't be true. This is a game. In this game, all these Newport County players will be telling their grandchildren about. They're going to be motivated, ready to go. Still, United can't seem to score, and so he thinks it's going to be a 2-0 match. probably in the offing, Tom Heaton with the clean sheet, because obviously, who knows if Onana's going to be back. I think he was seen on the bench somewhere in the African Cup of Nations.
What a fucking shit show that was. Yeah, I mean, should be Bayandier's time to shine. You know, we heard a lot of things about him in the summer. We signed him on the relative cheap. I believe he starts for his national team, Turkey, and you know, I would see him play for Manchester United, but hopefully this is his moment. Onana, you know, has had a very bad season at Manchester United, and then the whole like AFCON thing has been a, you know, to be honest, a little bit of a mess.
It's been about right.
A little bit of
it's been about right.
It's been about right.
Hey, it's like this is about right. And you have a player who plays the African Cup of Nations, it's a mess. It's like, when are they leaving? They don't know. They're as late.
No,
to
this
the
is
game.
different.
This
is a bigger mess. This is like he left, and they showed up and like, well, we're not even dressing you because you were late. And then he goes down and he gets benched. And remember, he retired like a year ago. So either way, this is it's a mess.
No, it sounds about right.
But fuck that. Let's talk about Manchester United. This would be a great game for the neutrals. It's always fun to see a top place team play, you know, someone in the lower leagues because they're fighting for their life. They're going to be up for it. If Manchester United aren't up for it, it could be a long night. So they're going to pack it in. Like Adam mentioned, they're going to look to counter. We've seen that before. Low block. So we're going to need to move the ball quickly, and make sure that we can kind of slowly piece apart their defense and then not get broken on. So, hey, United should be winning handedly, but given the way we played this season, all bets are off, and I'm sure the bookies have quite the odds going into this match.
All right, jumping in injuries for Manchester United. Luke Shaw is out. Malacia is out. Mason Mount. He's just trying not to be, you know, seen playing shit football. Lindelof, Magoo, Martial, hard to say. I think he's being shipped to the youth team to get fit, apparently.
Just had surgery, actually. Just had surgery. He's out 10 weeks. Anthony Martial, another 10-weeker. So that's about it on Tony Martial.
Great. Injuries looking good. You know, not a lot of injuries for Manchester United. It's the excuse factory drying up here. What do we think on year 11?
I mean, it's a big news even beyond the physio because we saw who's in training. Luke's back in training. Mount's not quite there. Magoo is back in training. And like I said, Martial is out for 10 weeks, which is basically the season. So we'll see if we dip into the loan market to maybe pick up a Choupo-Moting. But either way, here's my 11 for the weekend. Bayern in net. He gets his first start for Manchester United. I'm going to do AWB, Varane, Martinez, Delo, because Shaw's not going to be ready. I'm going to play Delo at left back. It's a little defensive, but I think this midfield is going to be the midfield that hopefully helps us, you know, shore up shop a little bit and stop embarrassing ourselves in the league. Mainu, Casemiro, Bruno, Garnacho on the left, Højlund up front, and Ahmad. Ahmad hopefully gets his start, but I'm more likely to see Rashford. Sir, what is your starting 11?
Sir, I gotta you ain't playing. He hasn't played two holding midfielders like all year. When he does, he plays one at striker. And you think League Two, he's gonna shore up shop.
We need Casemiro back in the fold if we have any chance.
I'm just saying.
He hasn't started him because he hasn't had either of those two players available at the same time, right? So you're probably right. He'll probably play Eriksen instead of Casemiro.
Yes.
But I think this midfield's important if we're going to start not getting fucking torn apart by the West Hams of the world.
Yeah, but the problem is that's the way the manager wants to play with 2 10s. He doesn't want to play with two holding midfielders.
Well, if he's trying to save his job, maybe he'll fucking wise up. If he wants to jump off the cliff, then yes, keep playing 2 10s. I mean, you should be able to get away with it against this team, right? You can actually play 2 10s, and hopefully you should be able to win.
Sir, have you ever met a Dutchman?
They're stubborn a lot. Sir, what's your 11?
You ever met a Dutchman?
I have more than one. What's your 11?
I'm gonna say Bayern and net. Let's go. I don't know why the manager won't play this man.
Poor guy.
Play this man.
Poor guy.
I'm gonna say Shaw makes it back. You're gonna get Martinez, Varane. You're gonna get Delo. You're gonna get the full house. You get Mainu. I think you're gonna get Eriksen, Bruno, Rashford, Hoyland, and Anthony.
Oh no.
Anthony. Gotta sell him. Gotta show the people what they're gonna get.
He's yeah, that's about his level. League Two. Look at let's get into.
You need some highlights, man. You need some highlights for
I'll
Anthony.
tell you what, his highlight list is short. I'm looking for that odds. It is early here on the West Coast. Can barely find it. Forget it. Let's look at the bookies. Newport County, heavy underdogs. Plus 2,200 for Newport County to nick a win at home. Plus 1,100 for the draw and the subsequent replay. And Manchester United is the biggest line in terms of a favorite I've seen for us in a long time. Minus 1,800, sir. Given the odds, what is your score prediction?
2-0. I think, by any measure, we should be beating them 6-0 with the backups. But this is Manchester United. We're going to play the strongest 11 we got and probably have an underwhelming performance.
Sounds about right. Yeah, I think 3-1. I think we lick a shit like corner. Like even Newport County is taking advantage of us in the corner. We do get a win. It will not be that convincing. And if it is convincing, well, it was against a League Two side. So either way, expect the same as it's been this season. So let's get into some news. There's lots of it.
United in the news.
Sir, I got an opener. You mind if I lead into our big story?
I was about to do. I got breaking news here. I literally on my phone. I got sources from Saudi Arabia telling me Manchester United are in contact with Karim Benzema. His entourage. We're in contact with his entourage over a potential transfer.
Breaking?
Benzema on loan.
Breaking? What's the source?
Muppets on Twitter.
Hey, that's what we're dealing with. It's fucking.
We're in contact with his entourage, verified. Benzema's trending right now. Here, I'm digging in.
Trending with the Muppets. So are you digging?
I'm digging in. Manchester United, along with Arsenal and Lyon, have been in contact with his entourage and Al Ittihad over a potential transfer. Benzema. I mean, you think he's why are we interested in anyone on loan? That's the one thing I don't understand is this team is just toast.
Well, sir, not in the minds of our new operators. And we need a striker, right? Martial's barely been there as a number 2. Hoyland's finally starting to find his feet.
That's fair.
And we don't have a lot of games, right? Because we're out of everything but the FA Cup. But we still need a second striker for poor Hoyland's sake, right? Because he could get injured. He needs to be rotated. I don't think we'll get Benzema because I think he knows better. And I also think people are going to be shocked at how thrifty these new front office folks are. So I don't see them splunking out like 3 people.
Here you go. Sir Jim Ratcliffe loves, who does he love, sir? Who's his favorite Manchester United player?
Who, I think he said, I know who it is. It's Cantona.
Yeah, exactly. And then who's this other big Frenchman who can score goals, who can set the tone in Manchester United?
Who's a pseudo United fan, by the way. He has deep respect.
By the way,
Fergie.
iced out. I'm just saying. I just watched a kind of a rap video with Benzema. He's got an iced out rollie and a Ferrari.
Yeah, so what?
I mean,
he could do it.
Hey! I wouldn't mind a little bit of that at United. Now, obviously, it's taking that. This is the problem. Is no, the Muppet. We're Muppets. No more of this. No more iced out rollies. No more big shiny things at United. We need to get back to biting kneecap.
You want
kneecaps like the Detroit Lions? We
him or Choupo-Moting, bro? You want him or the Stoke reject?
We'll see. This is a little bit of Ratcliffe. This is all just stupid smoke and mirrors. As far as who we get in January, for me, it's all Ashworth. I don't even care about players. But if you told me Benzema could come on United and try to put some juice in this team, I wouldn't mind it. I'm not gonna say no.
100%. 100%. The season's a wash, but I think just
why wouldn't he go to Arsenal than us though? That's the one thing I don't. It's Arsenal.
Well, that's the deal.
Title,
if they're in it, he's gonna go there, right? I mean, they're not gonna win the title, but they're in a much better position than we are. It'd be great for us because Hoyland, learned from the best, bro. He's an elite striker, one of the best of his generation, and he's won quite a bit. So he would be great for that alone. We could use him. I don't think we'll sign him, but Hoyland get an opportunity to train under a top striker is always good for a young lad in his position. So I would take it just for that. But the wages are, I'm sure, high because I don't think he went to Saudi for the weather or the league. So that's going to be the challenge because
you would have to take a pay cut. Obviously, you would have to take a pay cut. But
play for 8th place Manchester United, that might be a hard sell.
No, but it would be like you'd still pay him like $500 a week, but it'd only be for half the season, right? So it's like there's just not a lot of downside to that. But hey, let's see how they. I'm watching all the highlights now. I wouldn't hate having Benzema on United. He's a mean guy. He's got some edge to him. So that's the breaking news, sir. Now I'm gonna let you lead into the.
I like how
Omar Barada.
I gotta watch some highlights to validate the fact that Karim Benzema is certainly was a world class player. I think.
Iced out Rolly. As soon as he had like the iced out Rolly, that sold me.
This isn't Lingard, bro. It's like he's actually won shit. He's won the Champions League. He's won the World Cup. And he went to go with that bag in the Middle East, which he's not the first guy to do that. The big news, sir. The big news. Let's lead it in with you and I, one of our favorite shows.
Omar. You. Omar coming, yo. Omar coming, yo. Did you hear that? Omar coming. Come on. Get out of here. Omar coming. Put that shit down. Let's go. Omar coming. Somebody in trouble now. Come on, let's go. You.
Yo, Omar's coming, sir. We got a new CEO, Omar Barada from Manchester City, and I'll say it because these are the type of transfers that I care about now. Fuck, I don't care about players no more right now in the near term. I don't care about all this manager bullshit. I care about heavies in the place that we need it. We've needed it for a long time, and we haven't had somebody of this level of competency since David Gill left with Fergie in 2013 and joined the FA. So bullish on Omar Barada, right? Chief football operations. He was the COO, of Manchester City for quite a while. I think around 6-7 years, and then he got promoted to chief football operations officer at the entire City football group, right? That oversees City and the rest of their feeder clubs. And he was supposed to be the successor to their current director of football. So exciting transfer. We'll talk about, was it Ratcliffe, the opportunity to be the head honcho at the best club in the world in terms of like historical breadth, or how much do the 115 charges coming down the chute impact this? But either way, United got their man. They got a competent man. And my favorite part of this whole thing was like nobody was onto this. Ornstein broke in the morning. It was literally confirmed by Manchester United by the evening, and that's how we should do fucking business, because that's how the best, whether it's on a player, with a sponsor, or a heavy in the administrative side and the front office side, you don't drag it out like the Ed Woodward way was like, well, the more press you get is the better, the more clicks. No, discreet, like a shark underneath the water, sir, with just the fin pointing out. I love this. How we doing?
No, I like. Look, like you can't like there's no use in speculating. Did the Chargers have anything to do with it? Of course they did.
Of course they did.
I really like, because of the way you need to think about it is this: it's like everyone running that organization, right? They over the last decade, bringing them to the culmination of the treble, and obviously them UEFA charging them and then getting out with a technicality in the arbitration of sport, which basically questioned how like they became like the materials leaked. So for everyone who doesn't know about the 115 charges, like they they did break FFP rules. The emails are out there laid bare. You can read them. They like literally broke the rules. The problem is how those emails are obtained through a hack, right? So like if information is stolen, it's not admissible in court, and so there's a lot of issues with sort of how the evidence came in. And clearly they did break these rules. You have the emails from the chief financial officer. So it's very clear to anyone at the organization that there are problems here. And yeah, you can get out, you can hire the, very expensive lawyers and get off on technicalities, but it's like a cat with nine lives. Like clearly UEFA, it was basically like I forget the exact technical term, but it was a statute of limitations, right? Where it was the violations were too far back for what they were allowed to essentially charge. And with the EPL, they're going full guns blazing. The hearing's been set, and look, everyone's going to be staying on the ship until they're not. Because whenever you're in a situation like this,
Yep.
or any organization, you're hearing a lot of noise on the outside, and then you're hearing no, everything's fine on the inside. You're not getting a nuanced view, right? And so anyone at the higher ends of the organization has seen those emails. They know what the club has done. It was probably like hey, let's not ask a lot of questions. And now the book's coming. And people jump ship, like smart people. And this shows me this guy's smart.
Yep.
Because these charges are real serious. They're looking at these. And here's the deal. We're talking about two things. We're talking about the 115. We're talking about the EPL getting serious about FFP, and we're talking about our new CEO. Is it a coincidence that they started getting really serious about FFP before they dish it to City? Like, what do you think? You think Man City's looking at Everton and Nottingham Forest, or Everton getting the 10-point deduction and not thinking, like they're setting the tone and they're getting ready to go for the kill shot. And I think they're going to go all out. My gut tells me nothing happens because
that's what I was thinking.
Because it's going to become a international like relations crisis, right? If they charge Man City, there's going to be like a lot of threats, like a lot of illegal things being said between the two countries. But from a like the heat is turning up on City. The players are probably insulated from it. They're believing the lies. Pep Guardiola is probably thinking twice. But someone like Omar, who's in the C-suite, who knows what's been going on, he knows. And a smart guy, you get out before, like,
yep.
Because like soon everyone's gonna be looking for a job, right? So it's like,
yep.
He's getting out right before this gets hot. And this is where, some people will stay the whole way. And if they win, they'll be rewarded. And then some people are kind of like, hey, there's some risk here. I don't want to be on this ship while we're fighting this battle. And clearly he's a smart one. He jumped ship. The 115 for me is how you get a guy. I don't think you get a guy like this if this exists. You get a guy like this because it's serious. The risk is there. We all know the risk. The risk is like relegation and beyond, like for Man City and what that would do to the org. And do you want to be sitting on that ship when that happens? Then you get a little mud on you, right? Because then you're a part of it. You leave right before you're in the clear, and I think that's kind of why we got our guy, and that's just amazing because it goes to that original history I talked about, the match fixing, how City was caught cheating. They're cheaters at the turn of the century, and we got a bunch of their players. John Henry Davies scooped them up and helped us win our first title. So maybe the rebirth of Manchester United from the ashes of despair is this 115 charges, getting some executive talent, and then having them lead us to the promised land. So I think – you got to be thinking, long term. I think this is a great long term for Manchester United and where Man City's going.
No, it's well said, sir. I agree. I think like history, has a tendency to repeat itself. And wouldn't that be great? Before, like you said, like 120 years ago, at the point where the charges got dropped, United came in, swooped, and basically took all of City's offense to complement an already very stout defense that United had. And then won first FA Cup, won our first league, and here we are. It's shifted. I think it's less about players having the impact. It's more about like competency. All the best clubs these days have very smart people at the top of the pyramid. So let's take advantage of their misery and the fact that like he got out early before the charges dropped in reality in terms of like a ban or a relegation or them stripped of titles or silverware. And now he's coming into Manchester United. My favorite thing about this, there's been a lot of noise after this broke on the weekend, was United's old guard, like the Woodward, fucking Arnold, Glazer camp, was like, no, we were really involved in this. We had our fingerprints all of this. It's like, bro, you hired Richard Arnold, and before that you hired Ed Woodward, and like you said, you gave him a fucking decade. The guy was an accountant. You let him be the CEO of Manchester United, the biggest football club in the world, and like you said, after that first transfer window, he should have been cooked, right? All summer, Fabregas, and then we ended up with Fellaini and overpaying for him because he had a low
No, he did
release
good
cost.
on the commercial side, but like at a certain
whoring out
point,
United, I think he gets a lot of credit for
yes. No, yeah, and that's the problem is like it's not, and I agree with everyone saying, "Oh, that's like that's not that easy."
You agree with that?
No, I think it was easy. I worked,
so do I.
So, by the way, I worked in corporate sales as an intern for Kroenke Sports in Denver. So I saw selling sponsorships, and it was the Abs and Nuggets, and like the Abs were really good, and it was very easy to sell. And so like all Woodward did was staff up and sell. I don't think that was that hard. The main issue is like after 3 years of him completely being horrible on the football side, they didn't like take that away from him or demote him and put someone above him who then can control it. So it's obviously the Glazers' fault where we are. But one point that Ornstein made, the Barada pursuit was relatively recent, right? And so I think that was really an interesting one. So like, why is it recent?
Yep.
Why is it recent? What does he know? What
Yep.
By the way, the EPL said the date set for the hearing, and he knows like Barada knows what's going on behind the scenes and like what they're working on. He like what I'm saying. He's on the inside of like how to put together the defense. He's being briefed on what's going on, right? So it's like it's not public, but he knows and he's out. Right. So like again, like all signs point to City getting the book thrown at them. Like I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what I think the EPL is setting up to do. It will be very interesting. And obviously, look, any CEO is going to be judged on what?
Results, bro.
Exactly. So let's see how he does. There's a lot of hype behind him. He has the resume, and let's hope he does a great job. But sort of next bit of news is the training ground. Look, Ratcliffe's come in. He's got a list. He's checking it twice. CEO, boom, done. Director of football, Ashworth, not done. Number 3, world-class training facility. Tell us about it.
Hey, it's heating up, and the word of the day and what we've heard based on even previous attempts to do the fake rebuild of Carrington. I love that. Glazers like, we're really invested after the whole Super League thing, and they spent like $4 million like changing the tiles. This is the marquee thing, or from an infrastructure perspective, that Ratcliffe wants to go all in. So he's talking to multiple golf courses, apparently, to buy them out and do a complete refresh of Carrington, rebuild completely. And the person.
No, it won't be. It's not going to be Carrington anymore.
No, the new Carrington. It used to be the Cliff.
No, it's like so they're literally not gonna.
No, I understand that. It'll have a different name because it's a different location.
Yeah, Carrington doesn't have space, so they're looking at buying a golf course, or a large plot of land, which now is a golf course in Manchester, to build 100-acre world-class training facility, right? So it's going to be. There's Carrington. It's going to be like Cantona land.
Well, they might. Excuse me. They probably will just get rid of it. They might use it for something. But that's not the point. The point is, like you said, he's investing in this. This is important. I think a lot of the money for the stadium will come from probably financing, right? Sponsorships. Maybe they'll do a debt financing like Spurs did for their new stadium. But we've got a heavy involved, and this is actually one of the few heavies that was in before Ratcliffe completed the deal. Mags Mergna, designer of the Leicester City Ground, is the director of infrastructure at Manchester United, overseeing all enhancements to Carrington. Obviously, Leicester City, they redid their ground a couple years ago, and it was absolutely phenomenal looking. Put ours to shame. So they already have the right individual in the spot, and that, like I said, that's one of the few positions where Ratcliffe came in and there was actually somebody qualified. So this will be an interesting one to follow. I think, the importance of having a world-class facility is really when you're trying to get the Jude Bellinghams of the world. When they bring them in and you're look how sick are top of the line facilities. Obviously, it helps for players' morale, and you would think an element of fitness, and maybe like the what did Ronaldo say about the spa, the same one that he had seen 20 years earlier. But Ratcliffe, like you said, he's going through his list, right? We need to do personnel. All right, they're refreshing that. Facilities, we're going to do that. Players, coach, that's all coming too. So either way, serious operator. Ratcliffe also met with a bunch of fan groups, already doing like an open dialogue and trying to change the tenor that was present underneath the Glazers. But good to see. There's a lot of concerns around Ratcliffe coming in. A lot of people, I think, who are in the Qatar camp were pushing him as a revamped, Glazers, doing an LBO, trying to suck the money out of this club. But, he could have economic motivation. If he has an event and sells this club in 10, 20 years for more money, no shame in that. But at the same time, I think he has strong affinity for A, both owning Manchester United, and B, being the one who turns Manchester United around. Because, as you mentioned, our history is embedded with the men who kind of like changed the course of history as it relates to this great club. And we've been in dire need for someone to turn the tide. It wasn't going to ever come in the form of a manager. It was going to come in the form of an owner, partial owner, operator who gives a shit and wants to change things. And here he is changing things already.
Yeah, and it's somebody who gets it, right? Because like you and me who've like read about the history, the students of the United history know Jimmy Murphy, right? Busby Babes, building the youth academy at Manchester United. That was the big vision in the 1950s that changed everything. You can't win anything with kids, right? All the way through the class of 92. But Jimmy Murphy statue was just placed outside Old Trafford. Read the history there. It was all about changing to the youth, right? Because everyone would win with more experienced players, Manchester United and Jimmy Murphy particularly. That's why it's a Jimmy Murphy Young Player Award every single year. That's a very special award that's given out at Manchester United. The academy is important because Jimmy Murphy built it from the ground up. And someone who knows Manchester United knows how important the young talent is to Manchester United and how it's a part of our DNA. And this is why you need a world-class training facility. Like, how could Manchester United, with this rich history that's focused on youth development, not have a world-class training facility? And so Ratcliffe, seeing this as one of his first priorities, music to my ears, sir. It tells me that Ratcliffe knows what he's doing. He knows about this club, and it's great to see.
It is great to see, sir, and what we're going to need, because if you think about it, we've been spending over the odds for the last decade, especially given how they kind of just kept throwing money at it. There are peace times and there are war times, at least from like a business perspective. And for United, it's been peace times for a long. They just kept putting things on the credit card. They kept kicking the can around transfers, and they pushed it all the way to the edge. And the Glazers just figured, we'll sell, pass the bag to somebody else. Now we're in a wartime situation. We have to like gut the P&L from an expense perspective, boost revenues, and make hard decisions that will probably be unpopular for some fans in terms of selling players who maybe even have a role at the club in the next 2-3 years. So that mentality is going to shift. That mentality needs to shift because at the end of the day, the debt is still there. It's still fucking ticking up, and as are like the deferred transfer fees, which are still payable. So United is going to have a different approach, but part of that approach is like, it's about how we spend money. Spending money on a facility that helps us attract younger, cheaper youth is the way to go, who are hungry, and at the same time bringing in executives like Jean-Claude Blanc, like Omar. So exciting to see, because the alternative is someone fuming in the press about how no, we got lots of money, sir. I just had to include this because there's a heavy camp that was really pushing for these people to for this consortium to buy the club.
Oh yeah, the Qatar bid. Look, if you listen to this podcast, when everyone was wearing the I don't know what that garb is and dancing in the streets and going crazy, I think even Rio Ferdinand lost his mind about Qatar, and everybody just believing bullshit hype on Twitter. And the whole time we said, ain't nobody on Twitter know nothing, right? Is that what we said, sir? We said, ain't nobody on Twitter know nothing. Correct. And everyone on Twitter thought they knew something. And, that's just the problem with this fan base. There's so much bullshit out there. And by the way, I didn't know the inner workings of the process, but I said, if Qatar wants to buy Manchester United, why are they yapping so much in the press? Why aren't they putting that down on paper and getting the deal done, because anyone who's running a like M&A transaction knows that it's like ain't nobody want nothing in the press, and Qatar was the other way around, and it didn't make any sense to me. And oh, by the way, they had nothing. They didn't give any financial commitment, right? So here's the deal. Remember all the Qataris on Twitter tweeting like they bought Manchester United, all those guys? Like, we're all those guys.
For months.
We're all
and
those
months
guys.
and
Like,
months.
and they're like, they didn't show proof of funds. They didn't show they had the money.
I know.
By the way, when you're gonna buy $1 billion asset, it's not like, trust me, bro. It's like you gotta and it's like you have to show when you're evaluating. Like, here's the thing that people don't realize when you talk about M&A is why is all this coming out, right? Why do you think all this is coming out? Because you have to run an M&A process, and then you have to prove to the shareholders that you are making the best decision. It's a legal case. It's like, that's why they have to say there was no actual proof of funds from Qatar, so we couldn't evaluate their bid, and that's why we went with Ratcliffe, right? They actually have to write the rationale for why they chose the Ratcliffe bid, because if you take an offer that is better and you don't prove why, you could be sued by the shareholders, right? This is a public company. We got laws in America. You know, it's like we have rules as far as how you operate a business. And the reason why they're saying Qatar's full of hot air is because they were. It's a legal case. It's like, you don't understand it. See, Qasim is like now all mad and they're fuming and they want to just this is the funniest part of the whole thing. It's like, hey, man, you know how many lawyers they had working on this deal? They had 50 lawyers working on this deal. Millions of dollars.
Millions.
Like, these guys are killers, like top of their game. And by the way, everything they wrote in the filing is like way above board. And like, here's the thing, see Qasim, Sky Cave, tweets, that's about all they got, dude. And here at the end of the day, talk is cheap, motherfucker. You know that.
That's right, bro. It's like, you know, all they did was yammer in the press, and Rio made himself out to be a fool, and Sky Kavanaugh already was a fool. But this kind of speaks to some of the ways they like to, you know, some of the ways the Qataris like to do business. They did a lot of this kind of shenanigans during the World Cup. They made big promises, and then a lot of those promises didn't come true. And I think this just says, like, hey, we can put this to bed once and for all. Like you said, this is a legal document. This is not some bullshit in Sky Sports. It's like they have to prove that they took the best bid for the shareholders, and that's what they did. And then the fact that, like, the Qataris are like, oh, God, we're going to sue you because that's not true. We went over 5. Like, they didn't even meet the $4.5 billion asking price. And more importantly, like, any numbers could be like, I'll bid you $10 billion, but if you don't got it, then there's no deal. So this is just, you know, more than
it's just that they operate in a different system, right? They operate outside New York Stock Exchange, right? Dealing with the lawyers and the bankers, and it's just like, it's all hype train.
It's all talk, bro.
And that's the point. That's the point. And here's the thing: when it comes to trying to buy a multi-billion-dollar asset traded on New York Stock Exchange, it's not all talk. It's all walk. And Qatar ran into all walk. Now, here's the thing: like in the UK, it's probably more talk, right? There's a lot of talk going on, but when it comes to buying this asset, it's all walk. And Qatar had none of it. We even brought up the fact that, hey, proof of funds is probably the issue. They're probably saying they have the money. And then when you get down, like, what accounts, you got to show me where it is. Like, they didn't provide nothing. And the fact that they were yammering in the press tells you everything you need to know about their character, their intentions. So, like, why would you even be interested in United if you weren't even going to put a serious offer? It makes no sense to me. It makes me think that they're only doing this just for PR, like an Ed Woodward, just get the story in the news.
Correct.
And they were never real the entire time, which is absolutely crazy. So, look, here's the deal. When Ratcliffe, the minority deal, was coming through, we said, hey, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be heavily negotiated. I bet you he was going to get control of a lot of interesting things, because he wouldn't pay this valuation if he wasn't assured control over something at Manchester United. And look how it's playing out. So it's hopeful right now, and the direction of Manchester United with proper leaders and good executives and a solid plan. I'm excited to see how it plays out. And everyone thought, you know, the Qatar hype and that going away was like the end of days for Manchester United, and maybe we got just what we needed.
Amen. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And this is good because it quells kind of like there's still this like minority backlash in the fan base with like, well, we wanted the perfect situation where the Glazers are gone and we have a unlimited cash machine. Well,
you see Newcastle, you see the Newcastle story.
Exactly,
you think you
bro.
want that? Yeah,
No,
exactly.
Dude,
yeah,
you don't
exactly.
want that.
Yeah.
And you also like, hey, so far so good. They've only been in the seat for like a month, right? It got announced like Christmas Eve, if I remember correctly, and they're not even in the seats yet. And they're already making good moves. And the fucking Qataris wanted like Rio Ferdinand to be their CEO. So so far so good, sir. So far so good.
Next one, sir. We got to talk about Onana getting dropped in Cameroon's final group game. He basically arrived late, missed the first game. Then he came in and he made 0 saves in Cameroon's 3-1 loss to Senegal. So he showed up late, didn't dress. Then he played very poorly to the point where there's like highlights of it on Twitter. Now he's dropped. This story just keeps getting worse and worse. Kicked out our 10-year United legend, right? Like for many reasons. You go down the stats of all the things he won. De Gea, right? He's not twinkle toes on the ball, but he got rug pulled. Gave him an offer, took it away, signed Onana. He was retired from AFCON, comes in, pretty much gets us eliminated from Champions League, unretires from AFCON, goes to AFCON, plays worse, gets benched. I mean, I've never seen a transfer. I've never seen like such a big move from Eric. This is Eric Ten Hag's move, making his bed. Hey, this guy that everyone likes in the dressing room, he gone. I'm bringing in this guy, and it couldn't go worse, right? It's like he's getting benched, and he's left.
I mean, they're two different things. I agree.
The unretire,
hold on.
I'm saying the unretire.
Yes, let me get to it. The De Gea move is one thing, and then who you bring in. You know, in hindsight, yes, you would have wanted to stay with De Gea.
He deserved a year.
Hold on a second. And
deserves a year.
You wanted to stick with, you know, there's argument there. The argument on the other side is like the bringing in of Onana has been a fucking disaster. It's like it's been a 5-star disaster because he's played extremely poorly. If he played even like semi-competent, the level he was at last year at Inter, we would be higher in the table and we would still be in Europe. Whether that's Europa League or Champions League, we would still be in Europe because he is single-handedly responsible for us getting knocked out in 4th place. And it's been a mess, and that's probably, you know, a lot of the transfers went well last year, all things considered, even though we overspent. But this year, it's like almost all of them, arguably, other than Hoyland and Evans.
I would argue Anthony last year was
but he scored some goals. He scored some goals. I know, sir, but we weren't like last year. We played well, and we had a decent season. So it's like when you play well, it covers up all ills. So no one cares about the transfers. But when you play like shit, all the transfers are to blame. And
but this was a big one. This is I think that if you're going to tie it back, that this kind of created some locker room, like seeing De Gea get like, you know, his head cut off right in front of everyone. Like, you know, De Gea deserved like probably one more year.
What would City do?
Like
City would have booted his ass out too, bro. City would have booted his ass. It's like
they wouldn't have. Hey, they wouldn't have signed Onana. That's the difference.
Yeah, maybe,
right?
but they would have still done the first part.
But I'm gonna get to the point. The point that I have is that the manager makes the big calls. And you make a big call, it goes right, you get all the credit. You make a big call and it goes wrong, you get all the blame. And this is probably the biggest call that we made this offseason, and it has gone as bad as the Anthony signing.
And guess what?
He's not making any more calls. Hide when he's your only goalie.
He's not making any more calls, bro.
Ain't nowhere to hide. But this one is we need a new goalie. I'm gonna say
I agree. He needs to be sold.
Need a new goalie.
Yeah, he's not good enough.
Need a new goalie. We're gonna burn another.
He's not
making
any more decisions, bro. That's because that's what real football clubs do. They don't let their manager be the fucking head of, you know, the technical director and the head of recruitment. It's like, no, focus on coaching. If you can't do that,
it doesn't protect you for that.
It does protect you. Like, yes, of course it does.
That BS narrative doesn't protect you from the decisions you made in the past. It didn't protect.
I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about go forward. I'm not looking back. I'm looking forward, bro. I'm not looking at the
man's cooked. This keeper. Hey, I'll tell you, him and Onana, they're boys, dude. You know, it's one of those things. It's just like I hope Onana comes back and plays better. That's all I gotta say. You want to get into some other transfer news, sir?
Let's just wrap up the news. The Alvaro Fernandez deal was confirmed and went to Benfica, like we said, player that, has a lot of potential. Given that Malacia is going to be back, I think, loan's not the worst thing in the deal, but you can already see the fingerprints of Ineos all over this. Like, we've never seen a deal this nuanced and structured before at United, especially around the loans, right? He'll play. Benfica is exceptional at picking talent. They've probably been as good as anybody over the last decade. We'll have a buyback clause. We'll have matching rights. We'll have a sell-on clause. The deal becomes permanent if he plays 50% of the game. So wishing him all the best. I think he's a player for sure, but I'm talking about like the big deal is like the nuance in this deal speaks to how we're looking to do business going forward.
He should be the backup. He should be the backup.
He might be. Next year he might be.
No, this is unfortunate. I feel like, Malacia, it's like, I'm kind of like another Dutch league player kind of.
I understand. Okay.
Is he good? Is he good enough? Is he not? I don't know.
He needs to play.
I don't know.
He needs to play.
But like Fernandez is a play. I got a good feeling about him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like he's young. He's got dog in him. I want to see more of this. I just, it's sort of Dutch league. Come on.
Anyway, who else went out? Dan Gore went on loan yesterday to Port Vale. Wishing him all the best of success.
Love that.
He needs playing time. He's not going to get any playing time because the midfield is getting more robust as players come back from injury. And then last thing in the news is like we're finally offering players to the Middle East. About time. It's like everybody saw that fucking play last year. They were overspending for every numpty available, even some former greats.
Yeah, but we're desperate now, and it's not going to work.
I know
right?
we are too late. I mean, we should have done this last summer, but like the only way we're going to get any money back for Anthony, and even I think Jadon Sancho is a hype train too. It's like is if you sell him to the buyers, people who are willing to overpay, because guess what? Not everyone wants to go play in 120-degree weather with 400 fans in the stadium. So. Either way, like you said.
So they got good horse racing. They got good horse
camel
racing,
sir.
Camel
racing.
I mean, who can't be entertained by camels racing?
No, it is entertaining, sir. Should we get some fan cues?
Absolutely. At Fox United, quote, I cannot wait until Martial is gone. Injured all summer. Can't wait to be sold.
Yep.
Now injured all January. Can't be sold. This man is more money hungry than the Excuse Factory. Hopefully this is the last season of throwing money in the trash on players who don't perform or stay injured. I hope so too. And we got a long list at United of players that we got to get gone. I think you just said Anthony, Sancho, nobody's going to be spending money on those players. You got to have them like playing kind of well. And I honestly think the Chelsea, like Saudi Arabia connection is very interesting that they were able to sell all their deadwood to Saudi Arabia all of a sudden. And they're apparently invested in the fund that owns Chelsea.
There
so again, it's very... Like it's like they should look into that one.
Newcastle is selling players back to the Saudis, bro. It's like
sorry, I have to take it back to that L. That De Gea L is like.
We don't need to talk about that anymore.
Alex
we don't need to talk about that, bro. He doesn't have a job. He's unemployed. I didn't want to bring that up.
It don't matter.
It does matter. If he was that good, he'd have a job, bro. It's January.
Alex was like top prime De Gea hater. Then you like De Gea leaves. And it just goes to crap, and it's like, you know what I said? Be careful what you wish for.
At the same time, sir.
Hey, when the plebeians get restless, and you're going to axe a United legend, won the title. I think he, the number one PFA Player of the Year, number one Manchester United Player of the Year award.
You're such a stand for De Gea, bro. It's like go watch him play Twitch.
You gotta respect. Like
I do, but like we should have still moved off of him. We should have still moved off of him.
I'll tell you. This is what I'm going to say. Again, it goes to reading the tea leaves. De Gea was a leader in the locker room. He faced the noise after big defeats in the press. He was a stand-up guy. You might not like him playing out the back, and he definitely made errors, but he was a likable guy. You know that he was a figurehead in the locker room, and that when you saw Eric Ten Hag, it says a lot about his culture, when they gave him a contract and then pulled it back from him.
Why did they pull it back? They pulled it back because he had massive errors in the final.
That's bad business. Just like Qatar.
It was a year ago.
Good faith. I'm telling you, but just like Qatar negotiating not in good faith with United is bad business. Giving a contract to a legend and then pulling it at the 11th hour is bad business, and that's Ed Woodward business, right? And that's the problem. Is like that's the culture. If you're going to treat a player like that as put in a shift for United, and you're going to do that to him, you don't think he's going to talk to the rest of the players about it? Like, that's the issue, is like the mistreatment of players. You could give him a contract and be like, hey man, you're only going to play in the FA Cup. Like, that's fine.
You're going to give him a $10 million contract? He was the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, sir. We don't have to talk about this anymore. I know
no,
you're
but
in love with De Gea.
he was willing to take less wages.
$10 million. He wanted $10 million a year, bro.
But my point is, it's like how you treat people, and if the coach is the one doing that, and it's like, and then it's like it sets the tone. It sets the tone, and that's just like one of those things where that, to me, it was to get rid of De Gea, not a surprise. To do it in the way they did, that was the surprise.
Well, it was an old guard, sir. That's the old. It's out, bro. They're out. They were numpties. They did everything wrong. He was, first of all, do not single out De Gea. You know how many fucking legends got thrown in the mud by this club?
Of course.
Over the last decade? Like, I could go all day, baby. So, like, yes, De Gea was a legend. 5 years ago, he was the best goalkeeper in the world. He deserved a more appropriate send-off, but he still should not have gotten a new deal. So we handled it wrong. It was the right decision, but it was executed poorly. And even
I think the problem with and again, keeper transitions are difficult. So there's an argument to be made that De Gea gets a year, and then you give the next guy all the cup games behind him to give him the confidence to be number one, because it's a transition, right? You just bring someone in ice cold. It's like you're kind of seeing it right now. So I thought there was an argument for some sort of transition, some sort of send off to kind of help ease it in, like. That obviously wouldn't have helped, because if Onana was playing like Champions League, we would be out, right? So, regardless, it's interesting times at United, sir. But look, that's it for the podcast. We're glad to be back here.
We're back,
and
we're bickering. We're bickering about De Gea, sir. We're still in form.
I could argue with this guy about De Gea for
all day. You and me. Let's go, bro. Let's go. All day. By the way, this is what we do. John and I are like very close friends. We argue about this shit like it's not confined to the podcast, but you probably already knew that.
Look, big game ahead for United. Big times ahead for United. We'll see. I'm excited about Ashworth coming in. But sir, that's been the podcast. You want to support us? Check out our Patreon page, americadevils.store, americadevils.com. Sir, give us a top cities last 7 days.
Number one, how you doing? Dublin, Ireland, Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Toronto, Canada, Melbourne, Australia, New York, Orlando, Florida, Oslo, Norway, Atlanta, Georgia, and last but not least, Washington, D.C. Appreciate all American Devils listening week in, week out. Big times ahead. A lot of changes coming and going. We got a game on Sunday. FA Cup. Eating those L's, sir. That's what I do every day. Appreciate you. Appreciate the fans. And, sir, on to the next one.
Let's go.